when I do feel the bad feelings starting again, which they do, I always keep reminding myself that, okay, it's not gonna last forever. You're gonna be out of this moment, and there's gonna be another moment ahead of you.
That just because somebody has a mental illness they don't stop being a person because they have a mental illness. I mean, I don't stop being a person because I have a mental illness.
Trust someone. Start with someone. And don't be afraid to reach out. And just realize that everyone has weaknesses. Just asking for help is really the hardest thing.
Hello, my name is Kim O'Reilly, and I'll be your host on the Caring Network. The Caring Network is a show about people's personal struggles with mental illness and their journey, their disappointments, their hopes, and their recovery. Mental illness touches all our lives. Join me as 3 women tell their heartfelt stories. I think you will find this a very powerful and moving experience.
I did feel somewhat out of sorts, but I thought that it was just maybe menopause coming at me and I didn't know what to feel. I had a lot of stressors on me. My husband was changing jobs, my daughter was changing colleges. I had a little boy that was a handful, but I love him. My parents were moving from a big house that we all lived in to a condo. My business was booming in the summer, which it normally doesn't do, but that also came into play. There was a lot of things that I didn't think were big deals, but I just kept them coming at me, and I didn't know when to say, I can't do any more, stop. So I did feel a sense of overwhelmingness, and what I did was I just kept moving. I was a moving target. I just kept trying to move out of to do more and to help more and to be more, and I got it all taken care of, and then the summer was over. And thank God the kids were going back to school and everything was gonna be just all right, but I had the worst time sleeping. I just could not sleep. And I'd sleep for an hour and I'd be up. And then I'd come downstairs and I'd futz around my house a little bit, and it just didn't know what it was. And I had no idea that my mind was starting to take me on this journey that I wasn't even prepared for. But my second chance in life has happened, and what's so good about it is that I can now tell people so strongly that you can be very stable, secure, and mental illness can come your way, and it did. Inside, there's a lot of turbulence. So with the bipolar, which I was said to have, I had a manic episode. So a lot of this was bottled up for a long time. And when all these feelings of overwhelmingness came, I kept trying to keep myself above water. And my body went into the red. I can't take any more. I gotta shut down. This is not what I, signed up for. So what I've learned is to definitely know that everything does matter, but you have to also really think about what it is and try to be still. There's nothing wrong with being still. I have the hardest time with that. I was afraid, so afraid of what the community, my family, I say community first, so there you go. My family, I could accept that they would accept, and they would help me through and through, because that's the kind of family I have. I'm very lucky. My community, you never know, People can shun you, people could say, don't go over to that lady's house, she's crazy, there's a lot of that kind of stuff. But the good news is that the community didn't applaud it, but they rose to the occasion, and they said, can we help you? What can we do? Can we make you dinners every single night for 2 months? Every single night, it was taken care of. I didn't have to worry about that little detail. I couldn't worry about it. I couldn't do it. And that time gave me the time to know that I'm going a little stir crazy here. I got to get better. What I've learned in these past 3 years is to not always have to do. You don't have to. You can just be, and being is wonderful. And trying to accept the fact that your worst thought is always not going to come true because our thoughts really can fool us into thinking that you don't want to be alive when you do. So if I'm having a bad day and things are not going my way and something's up, it's not going to be forever. Tomorrow is going to be better. And guess what? If tomorrow's not good, I maybe should call my doctor, because you know what? 2 days in a row is not good for me. Life is full of ups, downs, sideways, somersaults, so you're just kind of in it for the ride. That's what I'm doing now. And I'm not fighting it. I'm not fighting life, because you can't. It just happens.
The reality is that 1 in 4 American adults will experience a mental illness in any given year.
I still get bad days and good days. I mean, my doctor says there's no such thing as a magic pill that can pull me out of a depression. I can't take antidepressants because of my illness, because of my history. They realize I can't take antidepressants. So if I do go into a low, I have to write it out. And that's not the easiest thing to do. And it's difficult. But my doctor is very much aware of my situation, and he's very much on top of everything. Well, over the years, it hasn't been easy. I did have a time period where I was 7 years free of the hospital, and I kept myself busy. I worked as a cashier at Stu Leonard's. I worked as in banks. I just did like all sorts of jobs to keep me busy. And then after it was determined that I could no longer work full time, I volunteered. I did whatever I could to keep me out of the house. And that's the big key, because if I start to isolate, then I really run into trouble. I gave my testimony one time in church, and they just stood up and applauded. Because I said that I'd come to the church as the result of a life and death situation, and that I'd lived through it, and that the church was just, they were there. I mean, they were listening, and they applauded, and they stood up, and they came over and gave me huge hugs afterwards, and stuff like that. It was just amazing. It's interesting how people, when you, quote, come out of the closet, it's interesting how people relate to you differently than if you try and hide your illness. And I'm not saying differently in the sense of, stay away from her, she's crazy. But in the sense of, it's okay. I mean, I have problems too. And that's basically what I find with this particular church is everything's okay. They've all got problems. I've been very successful at knowing when the symptoms are starting to come up and taking care of them. Going to the clinic and tracking my doctor down, going to the emergency room, calling my therapist, or doing whatever I feel is necessary to keep me stable. And I'm the only one who knows me as well as I do. I mean, nobody else knows me. I mean, the doctors know my symptoms, and the doctors can see things in me, but I'm the only one who really knows me. And I'm the one who has to be able to take charge of my treatment. I've actually made suggestions to the doctors as far as the medication is concerned, and they've listened to me and had me. They've given me the medications that I've asked for. I do the advocacy because I feel so strongly about the treatment of people with mental illness that just because somebody has a mental illness they don't stop being a person because they have a mental illness. I mean, I don't stop being a person because I have a mental illness, and everybody's got some sort of a problem or some problems in their life, and the way they handle it, everybody handles it differently. Life really is worth living, and no matter how down you get or how hard it seems to be at times, if you just give life a chance, things will work out. It always does. I mean, everybody has their bad days. I have my bad days. I have my bad weeks. But I've learned just to live it through. I learned just to take my medication and try and get enough sleep and try and eat 3 meals a day and try and exercise as much as I can. I always dreamt about finishing my degree in college, my college degree. Having it seemed to be an empty spot in my life, and now it's being filled. The biggest thing that's gone on right now is that I've gotten my dreams back.
Today's show is about women. Women who have struggled with mental illness.
I did experience a great loss. I lost my great-grandmother, but I didn't have any symptoms right away. So when I was about 28, which was about a year and a half after that, I started noticing that I had a change in my thinking. It was much slowed down. I didn't read at all. I had always been an avid reader, didn't get any enjoyment out of that. I had trouble concentrating. My memory was terrible. And then I started having paranoid thoughts, and I started isolating. What got me through everything was, the support of my family, of course, but also I joined this clubhouse called Laurel House in Stamford, which was a clubhouse based on the Fountain House model in New York City. And there they have what they call work order day. And so you come in from 9 to 5 and you do various activities. Like I worked on the newsletter. And it's to get you back into the swing of, having a structured day. And so within a year, I was back at work. Then I went back to school. I was taking up computer programming and information systems. And they're very supportive. They have these meetings twice a day, and you can participate as much or as little as you want. So those are the things that helped me, my family and the clubhouse. And I guess also my providers. I had a therapist and a psychiatrist. Now what I usually do to manage is just, to make sure I get enough sleep, eat properly, try to get some exercise. And most important thing for me is like maintaining a positive attitude and having structure. One of the things that I started doing was maintaining a gratitude journal. I had gotten the idea from Oprah Winfrey. And, when I first started off, because I was such a critical thinker, I could barely come up with 5 things that I was grateful for. But over the years, I found that, I can list anywhere from 50 to 80 things a day. And I try not to, repeat the same things. So that has helped me tremendously. If I met someone today who had schizophrenia, I would tell them what I would have liked to have heard when I was hospitalized. And that was, 1, you will get through this. 2, this doesn't have to be the way your life is forever. You can resume the things you used to do, and you can even do better things than what you did before. It's all up to you. But you have to work hard. You got to work on yourself. You have to do some self-examination, figure out what your weaknesses are, what things, what your passions are. One of the biggest problems with me was I used to keep things bottled up. I never talk about things. So working out and therapy, that helped a lot. Whatever it is you want to do in life, you can do it. You don't have to let mental illness be a handicap or a barrier. In fact, you can use it to your advantage to help you achieve anything that you would like to achieve.
I just want to thank the 3 of you for telling your stories. They were really inspiring, and they must have been difficult to tell. If I had a story like that, I'm not quite sure I could have done it. So I really, really want to thank you. And it will really help, I think, people to better understand mental illness and what the struggles are, but also what is possible with support and with good treatment and with, I think, the positive attitudes you all have. So I just want to talk a little bit about recovery. You know, maybe Amina, you could tell me what does recovery mean to you? We've heard that word. I think we've heard that word a lot about people who might be alcoholics. They talk about recovery, but with mental illness, what does that mean to you?
One program that I've studied out of Arizona, they define recovery as remembering who you are and using your strengths to become all you were meant to be. And I've kind of embraced that idea. I do see it as being a process, not a destination. It's ongoing. But the thing that I like about it is the idea about remembering. Because a lot of times when you get hit with the mental illness, you forget about the things that you used to enjoy, the things you were able to do, and it seems like it was another person's life. But once you remember these things and then you find your ground again, then you can move forward and do better things.
Is recovery going back to where you were before you first got ill, or is it something different, Jody?
I don't think so. It is something different because you're growing every moment and you can't go back to where you were because you were more naive, younger, vulnerable, whatever it is. So most importantly, I think recovery is just remembering who you are as an individual and how you can better yourself, which betters the world and the people around you. I mean, that's really what it's all about. So living for others isn't what was intended.
So it's really knowing yourself.
Yeah. And recovery would be to have an open mind and to be able to discern where you want to go, not where you think that others expect you to be.
Okay, I understand. And Liz, for you, I know that you said it's been about 30 years since you were first diagnosed. So it's been a long journey, and there have been some great successes. You've also had some real struggles. So can you tell me about what recovery is for you?
Recovery is for me is getting the support I need, you know, in order to maintain myself and to keep going. I try not to look back. I mean, I know I recently had an anniversary and it kind of threw me for a loop, but you know, I just quickly just say, okay, this happened, but it happened 15 years ago, and it's time to keep going. I'm still here. I mean, I didn't do anything to harm myself, and I'm just moving forward. And that's what recovery means to me. It's just moving forward, just keeping going, keep putting one step ahead of the foot in front of the other. Having plans and having dreams and having ideas and having successes and having failures. You know, I do have failures, but I learn from my failures and I learn from my successes. And that's what my recovery is all about, what that means to me. And then I just incorporate everything together and keep moving forward.
And when you've had a setback, what is it that helps you cope and keep moving forward in your recovery?
I know with me, they get less severe. And that's what makes me understand them a little more, because I know that it's going to come to an end and everything doesn't last forever. And that's what I keep reminding myself, that and there is a way out. It'll be over. And it's the light at the end of my tunnel. The old light at the end of my tunnel was a freight train coming at me. And now that light is hope and knowing that everything's going to be okay, and it might take time, and that's all. Everything does take time. That's worth waiting for, right?
I mean, initially it seemed like it was a dark tunnel, and it was just going down and down and down.
Kept waiting for the next freight train to come at me, and I'd hit it when it came. And it's a lot to keep up.
And now you have this hope and this understanding that there is another way.
Right. Same tunnel, different light.
Amina, do you ever have a bad day? I mean, you know, talking to you and about your experiences, and you have this great smile, and, you know, I know you're a mom. It sounds like you're just a great mom, and you work really hard. Do you ever have a bad day, and does it ever sort of, if you do, frighten you, maybe?
No, I have bad moments, I would say. I try not to let the sun set with me having a negative attitude. I always have to examine myself and do an attitude adjustment. Maybe I have to indulge myself in something to distract me. But, you know, it's all about finding balance, I think, and being a little more forgiving of ourselves, or at least in my case, that's what I need to do. Things happen all the time, and you can make a choice. You can either learn from it, use it to your advantage, or you can let it get you down. So I have bad moments, but not bad days.
We hear all the time on the news how much, how hard it is for women, juggling career and jobs. But you guys are also juggling a mental illness. You've had another challenge. So, what is that like for you guys, and how do you keep it going?
Well, one important thing I had to learn was to set boundaries, and also, I always had a tendency to put everyone else first, and it seems selfish to say, I have to take care of myself, but actually, I had to realize that if I don't take care of myself, I won't be able to take care of anyone else. So by setting limits and making sure that people respect those limits that I set, that helps me to maintain my wellness. And then I find I can give more. And I have to make time for those things that I enjoy, so I'm not resentful when I have to do those, mundane things, and it's all back to balance again. So,
So balancing it and putting yourself first, and that's really hard. I think. I mean, I'm a mom. It's really hard when you're a mom. Jody, how about you? And I know you also have your own business, right?
Right? Helping others.
Helping
So
others.
I want to say too that we're just programmed to love our children, help our children. That's what we're programmed for. So we're changing our program by working and bringing money, into the household and trying to maintain that love, care, compassion, affection, which is so needed in any child. I mean, that's part of their development. So
Right.
it's not just monetary, which everyone's trying to get. You also have to raise your children to be good citizens and also have wonderful emotions. I mean, that's what we're dealing with. People that have damaged emotions, they don't know what they're supposed to do. I think that's where I fell in. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, so I did everything. And no human could possibly carry on that way. First 50 years of my life, that's the way I was working. And now I have a choice to not be selfish, because it's not, just to maintain myself and just to be able to be here for another 50 years, which I plan. And I'm glad that I have the opportunity to start fresh, but never forget the past, and to love my kids and to do for them like I do for them, but to let them do for themselves too, because I'm not going to be around a lot for them when they get to be teenagers and young citizens and adults.
Jody and Amina and Liz, you all shared about your serious illnesses and some of the really critical things that happened to you. Going forward, what would you like other people to know in terms of their mental health? What would be important that you want people, sort of the one thing message you want to give to folks that are watching the show?
There's hope. Nothing is beyond being tackled. It can be tackled. I mean, you may need to get support, mental health support, but you can learn how to cope, and you can learn how to make strides in your life. And I describe myself as a tightrope walker. Sometimes I have to take 2 steps back to get my balance, but then I can take 3 or 4 steps forward. And it's those 3 or 4 steps forward that I look at, not the 2 steps backwards. I just get the 2 steps backwards for my balance, and then I keep going.
Oh, I love that thought. Sort of just, you might have to just stop and think and balance yourself, and then you're going to move forward.
Right.
Is that what you would say, Jody? I mean,
Get your thoughts straight and your bearings straight. And I think what I most like to express is the fact that you're not alone, which is a cliche, but in the sense of you're not alone, because if something really truly is devastating that happens to you, you would be very surprised, pleasantly surprised, by the individuals that have had it, or someone they know, or their family members, and they're connected with you somehow. It's truly surprising to me, which I didn't expect. I thought I would have the stigma of the woman, the crazy woman on Blanchard Road, you know? Guess what? I'm not.
so you're saying you're not alone.
No.
And by actually being able to talk about it, or maybe you didn't want to talk about it, but it came out, that's been helpful to you because other people have actually come forward to you. Is that right? Who may have had
Absolutely.
similar experiences. So you're sort of saying to people, don't be afraid to talk about it.
Don't be afraid, because you're one step away from someone who has the same kind of concern.
Amina, how about you?
I guess I would like to share two quotes and a thought. The first quote, I think, best sums it up. It says, "Courage doesn't always roar. It may be a small voice that says, 'I will try again tomorrow.'" So I think, that goes along with what Liz was saying earlier about the hope. Sometimes we have to take baby steps, and maybe it's just getting out of bed. If that's the biggest thing you can do for that day, then that's it. The thought is that for me, I don't think you should accept excuses. You have an illness, yes. You may need more support. You may need more time to do what you need to do. But it's not an excuse to give up on your dreams. And the quote that I use to inspire me whenever I start to waver or feel doubtful is by another consumer, Ayn Rand, and it goes, "The question isn't who is going to let me, it's who is going to stop me."
I love that. Who's going to stop me? Thank you, everybody, for sharing. As you have seen, recovery from mental illness is possible, and it's happening every day. Everyone has a bad day now and then and feels sad or angry or anxious. But if your feelings are interfering with your daily life or disrupting your relationships with others, it might be time to get some help. Call 211 and find the answers, or on the web at ct.networkofcare.org. Start your journey today. Thank you for watching the Caring Network.